Hey Jake.
Yo, Matt, how you doing?
Good man. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm so pumped I get the chance to talk to you. I see you on the screen a lot.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I just did your 45-minute progression run, and I was like, oh man, there's got to be some way I could give him payback for this.
Oh
It
yeah,
was
I gave
so hard.
the punishment for that. That's hilarious.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. You're a lot of fun as a teacher, and I'm a big fan. I'm really pumped to talk to you today.
Yeah, man. No, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And no, it's just I always love talking about this stuff. It's great. And
Sweet.
but no, thanks for taking classes. It's always fun to hear the perspective of classes. I know Tunde just gave me a hard time because I coached a 45-minute intervals run where we did two 15-minute intervals
That's the
at
one
10.
I did. Yeah.
Is that the
That
one you did?
that is the one I did. I believe I know it was 15 minutes. I don't know if it's the same class you're talking about, but it was tough.
Yeah, oh yeah, but that one, yeah, it builds character. It definitely builds, but it's these some of these, we'll talk about today, but it's literally straight out of the coaching manuals of building that fundamental threshold. So it's great stuff, but it is tough.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. And you make it just I don't know, you have as a teacher, I really appreciate how you're encouraging, and then at times I notice you kind of pause and let the student kind of do their thing, and I actually kind of like that pause. I don't know if that's intentional. I gotta imagine it's somewhat intentional, but if it's a very mentally challenging exercise that way too.
Yeah, no, it's good. I don't, it's easy to, I always tell, it's like before I came to Peloton, it was Peloton is very much like they talk more, and outside of Peloton it's like as a coach you want to be very selective with your words, right?
Mhm.
Because you don't want to just fill the air with words just to fill the air, because otherwise you want them focused on what they're doing. So I always try to think about, is what I'm saying meaningful enough to be said,
Mhm.
and how do we condense what needs to be said in the fewest amount of words? And that's really, in my opinion, the art of coaching. It's a craft that you have to really work on, and it takes a lifetime to get good at it. And I'm constantly working on it. I can always do better. As I'm sure
Dude,
like you know too, from teaching and all that stuff. So
absolutely. And you could tell you're honing your craft, and you really care about it, and that economy of words comes through. It's like it really lands. So as a fellow instructor, I really appreciate that.
I mean, and yoga is, I always like, whenever a dentist talks, I'm just like, if you take a dentist class, it's like literally everything he says is such depth. You could sit there and think about it for like an hour. And you're like, oh, and then you finally unravel it and class is over.
Yeah, that's a gift there. It's like verbal acupuncture sometimes. It just lands.
I know. I just sit there and I think about it. I can marinate on this stuff forever. So, but no, I
Sweet.
appreciate it. Well, thanks for this opportunity.
Yeah, man. I'm so pumped, and I wanted to get a little bit about you, Matt. I Are you a full-time teacher? Is that your occupation? I mean,
Yes.
or okay.
Yeah, so I do, I kind of split up into three things. I full-time Peloton. Peloton's number one in my life. And then on the side, have the coaching business, which is I'm affiliated with, but really I don't do a whole lot these days because they are doing their own thing and crushing it. And then influencing, my
Mhm.
job as an influencer. So those are my kind of like three jobs, but really Peloton that's my main.
Nice. Beautiful. And are you right there in Manhattan then? Are you in New York?
Yes, I'm in Manhattan. We work out of Hudson Yards. We have there's only two recording studios in the world. One is here in New York and one is in London. And
Hmm.
so that is it. I ride an electric skateboard to work, because if you want to talk about ways of keeping my stress down, that's a big one.
Yeah.
And I love my commute is very much de-stressing,
Hmm.
and that's yeah. So I ride a skateboard to and from work, and that's it.
Boy, that sounds stressful to me.
Where are you located?
So by the way of Philly, I'm in upstate New York now.
Okay.
I was in Philly for 16 years, and then the pandemic hit, and I jumped up to the lake house here, and kind of went all in on an online business, and I'm starting to teach a little bit more in person now. But um, for 16 years in the city, biking, commuting every hour, um, almost getting hit by buses and stuff. That's been my
Yeah.
experience.
I think our next move is out of the city for sure. But at the same time, it's you have to
Mhm,
find ways of making it work, right?
mhm.
So
Cool.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
nice. And where did you grow up then, Matt? Are you from New York?
I am not from New York. I grew up, I was born in Ohio, but I was raised in Georgia. So I grew up in
Interesting.
just outside of Atlanta in Marietta. And so then I went to Georgia State University in downtown Atlanta. So
Nice.
suburbs of Atlanta boy.
Okay. I was wondering why you were so nice. I didn't think it was because you're if you were a New Yorker through and through, or if so Ohio, then down and mostly grew up in Georgia then.
Yeah, mostly grew up in Georgia. How about yourself?
So I grew up near Scranton, Pennsylvania. So the office. That's what everybody associates it with.
That's awesome. That's so good. Such a good show.
Yeah, yeah. So good old Scranton. And yeah, and did you grow up pretty active, Matt, or how did you get so interested in athletics and fitness and health? Was it always part of your upbringing, or when did that start?
Oh man, it's been a part of my life since I can remember. My mom growing up, her high school job was like kind of like to be a ski patroller in Ohio. They lived in Ohio, and so she got us into skiing really early in our life. And so I discovered cycling through my mom. She was just like, well, if we're going on these ski trips, you need to be fit. And so she would take us out cycling to get fit for ski trips. But also my parents were kind of like the parents that were, I guess they felt like they didn't get to have all the opportunities that they could give us.
Mhm,
So we were constantly drowned in opportunities from you name the sports. And that was part of it. The other part of it was that my sister and I have so much energy that the way my parents handled that was with sports and athletics. And
mhm.
so we were literally, I mean, at one point I remember I would play on 2 or 3 soccer teams. We were a big soccer family growing up, and then I would have a tennis team. Sometimes I get into a sport like hockey, and of course, then our family stuff we would do together. We would go out in the boat and do water skiing, wakeboarding, you name it. So I grew up playing a lot of sports. I played competitively. It was soccer, tennis. Those are the big ones.
Mhm.
Swimming early in life, and then eventually, in high school I had to pick, and I got into running and decided I wanted to pursue running in college. That all happened in high school. And my
Wonderful.
sister ended up playing soccer at Vanderbilt.
Oh, cool. Okay. What was your position? Did you midfield or?
I was, the guy with ants in his pants. They put all those guys in midfield, right? That just I just ran people to the ground. That was what I did.
I
So
was gonna
so
say you could probably run circles
yeah,
around these
I
guys.
was a runner, so I did that, and then yeah, I did soccer for a long time, and then decided I just liked running a lot more, and just went with it.
Awesome. And so you went to college, you ran in college, and what was that like? Was that experience a positive one? Was it a big transition into college running?
Yeah, that was a big transition, and I walked onto the team because I had, basically I played soccer most of my high school career, and then I was like transitioned to running kind of late, so I kind of had to work my way up, work my way into it, and that was a big jump, and ran D1, and it was a very big transition to D1 athletics, but a lot of fun. I can't imagine, the coach. I came into college thinking I was going to transfer I was at Georgia State University thinking I was going to transfer to UGA eventually, with the rest of my high school went. And I felt my coaches at Georgia State were just so fantastic.
Hmm.
And the opportunities that Georgia State had, it was just like, you're in the middle of downtown Atlanta. You got everything right there. So I ended up loving my team, my coach, and my school, and I just decided to stay. And it was great, but the big transitions were, it was hard, tons of training. The
Yeah.
mileage was a lot more, the intensity was a lot more, the races were a lot more, and it was a lot. But it went back to my upbringing, which was my parents helping us get, we handled the stresses of life with athletics,
Hmm.
and so it was a natural transition for me to be able to like continue being able to handle the stresses of college with athletics. And honestly, it became, you think about some of these stresses from parties and social blah blah blah, like my excuse was I could always use athletics as an excuse to do the right thing and stay healthy and fit, and it was I wouldn't do it any other way. It was great.
I love that. Um, so cool. And so now, what did you study in while you were in college? I, I, I there's that part too, right?
Yeah,
So,
no, yeah. So I actually started college early. I was a very ambitious student. I was very thankful for my parents. I was able to get the Hope Scholarship when Georgia was a big thing that time, and still is. And my parents, I knew, were funding were helping to fund my college. And so I wanted to have, really crush college. I wanted to be, get something out of college. So I came in thinking I was going to do either medicine or business. And so I got to school early, started taking classes the first opportunity I got. And during that time, that's when, Enron had just happened, all these things had just happened in the business world. And accounting was getting, I didn't really know what I would be good at, what my interests were. Accounting was getting all this attention. And I ended up doing well in my accounting classes. And whereas I took physics was my litmus test for whether or not I'd be good at medicine. Bad litmus test, but anyways. Anyways, it is what it is. And so the professors at Georgia State from the business standpoint were fantastic.
hmm,
They brought me in and got me going down so I did a double major in accounting and finance. And that is where I decided to begin. I figured, you know what, still not sure what I want to do with my life, but at the end of the day, every business needs accounting.
mhm.
And it's going to be a great way for me to learn about business, learn how to run a business. Can't lose.
Perfect.
And that was a good bet.
Wonderful. And now how did the athletic career go in college? Did you excel in college, or what was that like, um D1, that's like you said, a big leap. Did it take a while to acclimate, or how'd you end up doing?
It was very humbling, very humbling. And one of the lessons I learned early was that, you could go to every workout and destroy yourself at every single workout, but that was only going to lead down. It's not a good thing, because everyone is fast. And so, everyone's fast, everyone's go-getter. So you quickly had to check your ego at the door and say, on the easy days, we need to go easy. Otherwise, you're going to be a train wreck. And I fell into that trap a little bit my freshman year, but then figured it out. Worked my way up into a scholarship, and did pretty well. But of course, D1 is highly competitive, and I think I was a bigger play for the team GPA than I was for the winning the trophies. So I was part of the student athlete advisory committee, and would do a lot to help with student athletes in school and stuff like that. But I was kind of a mid-range runner. I definitely wasn't the best, but
No,
we
that's
all have our strengths and weaknesses.
yeah. Listen, I sound like me with wrestling. I wrestled in college. Gosh, it seems like forever ago, but I brought their GPA up, which wasn't saying much at the time. But yeah, that's kind of my experience too with athletics, but still, I mean, good experience.
I commend you for wrestling. I went to, so when I was in high school, the high school wrestling coach tried to recruit me. He's like, you're short, you're strong, you could crush it. So I was like, sure, let's do this. I'll try it. And he brought me to Ohio State wrestling camp.
Oh, nice. It's
I've
hard.
never gotten so beaten up in my life. I was-
You know,
you're in wrestling matches every single day, right?
it's brutal. It really, I've had 4 knee. This is why I do yoga, I always say, because 4 knee surgeries. I played a sport where somebody's goal was to tear your knee. And so it was brutal. I almost bit off my tongue twice. It was, I could go through a long list of injuries, but I kind of wondered if you might have wrestled because, like sometimes, I don't know, I saw you were a smaller guy and like built, and I thought, he seems like a guy that could probably grab a hold of somebody and take them down, and that you'd be good at that. And also though, you seem like a really nice guy too. So I don't know. But
Yeah, no, it just, by the time we talked about it, I was so far down the rabbit hole with endurance sports that I was just like, it's the kids that I was wrestling against have been, doing it their whole lives. And you really realize quickly in wrestling, it's not about how strong you are, it's about technique.
big time.
And big time. And I was like, the level of proficiency that these kids had by the time I was wrestling, I was like, I don't want to chase this learning curve. I'm good where I'm at. Like,
Yeah, well, what you've done with running, and I mean, it's unbelievable. I have started later in life here, like more like socially, kind of competitively with some races, and I'm just like, man, this is hard. And it reminds me of wrestling, like in a a certain mentality, and it's kind of you against you. You got to be in your own mental state. And boy, it gets tough. And so,
absolutely. I mean,
um,
absolutely. But I mean, for all those out there that haven't wrestled, you're racing a 5K and you're out there for 15 minutes or whatever. And it's like, but like in wrestling match, the first, like 1 minute can feel like an eternity. Like,
yeah, yeah,
it's just,
totally.
anyways,
Yeah.
it's like, I always want to give justice to wrestling because it is probably one of the toughest sports I've ever done.
No, that's interesting. I know fully well that too. It's just, yeah, it's totally different. If somebody hasn't done it and they kind of watch it, they're like, what in the world? And then if you actually do it, like you said, 1 minute, 30 seconds against somebody who's really experienced and skillful, it feels like they put their hands on you and it's like the weight of the world, like you could crumble underneath.
It's wild. It's so wild. But anyways, yeah,
Yeah.
so much respect for that sport.
Uh, nice. Man, okay. We talked a lot about your background, which I'm glad because I didn't know too much about you personally. And so I'm glad we got some of that. And now how did you become a Peloton teacher? Were you a coach? Did you have your own running coaching gig before, or how did that come about?
Yeah, it's a great question. So when I moved up to New York to pursue my career in accounting, I was, competing. I started competing in runs and like in marathons and stuff, and got myself thoroughly injured because I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And so during that time, I had to start figuring out, like, I was like, well, I'm injured. And so I started getting into I was at the gym and going to spin classes, and one thing led to another. I started coaching because I was like, I gotta do something. And I got approached by an instructor who I'm still friends with to this day. And she invited me, she said she was starting a tri team, and I ended up coaching for her, and that was my first coaching gig. And what I realized when I was coaching that team in the morning, it was a triathlon team, called Team Lipstick. During the morning was that I really enjoyed helping people, and it was really where I discovered my passion, which was I want to help people for a living, and I really enjoyed the challenge and of helping people accomplish something physical. And so anyway, I realized I was like, this, the time before I ever got to work was like the happiest part of my day. And so I started doing that, and I was doing that on the side for a while. And then eventually I left. At that time, I went from, was it KPMG to Goldman, and then Goldman I left and started working on fitness startups with her. And because I just decided that there's something here that's more exciting than what I'm doing, that I'm more passionate about. And one thing led to another. The fitness startups came and kind of went, and then I was like, you know what? I really like working with people, but I really want something solid. And so I decided I was going to go to med school. And so I pursued a post-bac at NYU. Got my post-bac, which means I did all the prerequisites to go to med school, including the MCAT a bunch, and did all that. And during that time, in order to pay the bills, I was continuing to teach group fitness, because group fitness and teaching for teams, teaching for group fitness, because it was a wonderful way of bringing science into and making it fun. And like once you realize you can bring the science of science of health and fitness and bring it into the make it fun for people. People are seeing great results and they're having a good time. It's awesome. And anyways, the fitness scene in Manhattan started taking off, and I was getting lots of opportunities. And long story short, Peloton swooped in while I was finishing up my work to go to med school, and gave me an offer. And it was that, I had to do a gut check of, well, why am I going to med school? And the goal was to really bring fitness into the fold and help, again, it's think about prehab versus rehab. And there's so much to be said for living living a healthy lifestyle. Like, again, it goes back to how I was raised, using fitness to control life stresses and get in front of them. And so really I had to think about, like, well, that's kind of my goal, is to bring fitness into the fold more, what in terms of helping people. And what better way could I do that than being on a platform like Peloton, where they're putting tons of money behind the platform so that we can have a bigger reach and make a bigger impact. And really, at the end of the day, my goal really is to make a broad impact on public health, to get more people to move and to use fitness to improve their health and well-being. And so that's really what it came from, is I had to do the gut check of I got into med school or go to Peloton, and I chose Peloton. But I think that it's important to realize that I had the experience with these fitness startups to realize that what great chances Peloton had to be amazing. And having that experience with all the fitness startups really gave me that perspective to look at, okay, who's running this company? What's the capital structure? All that kind of stuff. That really helped me make the decision, even though my parents thought I was insane. So, because it was, at the end of the day, it's like I looked at the company, I was like, well, the amount that is invested in this company, if there's one player in the market, because when you're running your own company in startup land, you need to know who your competitors are. And having known what the competitive landscape looked like, I could look at Peloton and say, well, clearly this company probably has their act together more than anything I've ever seen in the market. So it's a good bet.
You were there towards the beginning then of when Peloton first started?
Well, I started in 2012. I was a 2016 hire. So okay. I was like instructor number 12, I think.
Okay, that's still a while back, huh? Doesn't seem like that long, but
oh, at a startup, it's a long time.
yeah, totally. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine. It's impressive, the outreach they have. And so was there a tryout, or did you happen to have yeah. You hear stories and I don't know how much of it's true. So what's true? What's that process like?
So in the fitness world, you do auditions. In group fitness, in the group fitness world, you have auditions, and usually in cycling, you get about 5 minutes to make an impression, and so you have to create a 5-minute kind of like audition. I think it was 5 minutes. It's around 5 minutes, and you have to put better, like, you think about your work, what are you demonstrating that you know, can do, all these things, wrap it up in 5 minutes. And that's kind of what my audition was. And they put me in a room which was then the studio. They put you on the bike, and you have to, even being invited to auditions is for Peloton was a big deal. And so that, there's no one in the room, and you just kind of like, they play your music, and you have to make an impression. That is it. And so, for me, it was, it's everything from how you look to what you say. Are you demonstrating confidence in knowing what you're talking about? All that stuff. I'm sure it's similar in yoga. I'm not sure, but
yeah, I was curious. It sounds definitely, no, it's definitely the case even still, 16 years teaching yoga. If I want a yoga job, I go to try out. I even suggest, maybe I do a demo, 5 minutes at least, and sounds very similar. But the initial foot in the door, though, how did you get that invite? Where do you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. So so one of the places I used to teach was Equinox, and
nice.
one of the early investors' wives was, I didn't know this at the time. She would come to my classes all the time. I had no idea. And eventually she decided, like, her and her family moved to Texas, and she was so nice and came up to me after class. She goes, "I'm moving. I need your classes. I want to recommend you to Peloton." And I'm like, "Okay, great. Like, sure. Let's do it." And they sent some people out, and it was about 6 months of, them coming out here and there. And then eventually it was, inviting me to an audition, and then it was just like radio silence. And I was like, great, I guess nothing happened. I don't know. So
that's crazy.
then I got the med school entrance, and I was like, well, I got to make a decision. So what's the deal? And that was kind of like, that's where we made it happen.
Interesting.
But that was it. So investor's wife that gave me the foot, at least the intro, and then sending people out. And I don't even know how the system works today. The system's probably totally different, but that's how it worked back then.
Awesome. So that's quite the journey into teaching for Peloton.
I mean, that's the thing, is like, is anything a straight line? I don't know.
Right. Right. Yeah, to think that you could have went that entirely, totally different direction, and right on the cusp of that sort of Y in the road there, like, it's just kind of crazy.
Well, yeah, I'm thankful for it too, because I think that it gives me a unique perspective on coaching. I'm thankful for the background I have from that post-bac that I did at NYU to do med school. Like, I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for the business mindset I received, from working as a CPA. Like, I think that's one of the best things you can, bring as a instructor, is your own unique perspective and background. And I think that's what makes you interesting as an instructor too, and sometimes more relatable.
Totally. Yeah. And so, I don't know if you told me, but how long have you been teaching for? How old are you now? Or
Oh man, I'm being 40 this year. Can you believe it? It's
nice.
nuts.
Wow. Okay.
Craziness. But no, I guess I started teaching or coaching. I started coaching in 2011, 2012.
Wow. So great. I
Somewhere in
was, yeah, is there, in yoga, there's teacher trainings where all you do, if most of the better teacher trainings, at least, is all you do is teach. Like, it's a art of teaching, different modalities of just how to teach. Not all of them are like that, but the best ones I've done are like that. How does that work for a trainer like yourself? And, there's obviously different programs, but I haven't ever looked into like a fitness trainer type of program. What was that course like for you?
Oh man, I look at the fitness certification landscape, especially in it's just not that great. But at the same time, I look at a cert as like, it's a starting line. It's a starting line, and that's about it. It's really
Mhm.
what you do with it from there, and how educated you make yourself. Like it's always great to get another cert, whether it's Schwinn, whether it's, there used to be Mad Dog was a big one. And then but that's like indoor cycling. And then there's like the more robust, you look at Hunter Allen and Andrew the Coggin, they have their power certification, which is like you might need an engineering degree to understand sometimes. So, but I like to do a variety of different ones. And of course, then you have personal training certifications like NASM, which is more along the lines of coaching, strength conditioning.
Mhm.
So I think, there's a bunch of different ones, but for me as an endurance coach, I think where I learn the most is by studying what's been published by coaches before me, especially at like the pro and elite level. They talk about, when you go, Daniels, McMillan, you name them, reading their books and literature is you start to learn about what's worked for them. And then if you start as a coach from what works with them for them, and you break it down into its components, and you think about how to relate that to whatever athlete you're dealing with, that's where you end up with something great that might be able to iterate on. But what I don't like doing, and what I don't believe in doing, is just making something up.
Yeah,
You need to have and I think that we agree when it comes to evidence-based. I think evidence-based training, evidence-based medicine, everything, evidence-based is where you start.
absolutely. Yeah. I feel like the best teachers are often the best students, like the ones who've put in the time and grown up with great coaches, and you could pull from different coaches and different studies. And so, I mean, it seems like you do that too.
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, it's like having worked with my first coaching job was working with professionals, and professional, I'm saying like people, working professionals in the morning,
Mhm.
getting ready for their first triathlon or the second triathlon or their first Ironman. It's like they don't have a lot of time to work out. They don't have much time to train. They're here because they believe in me that I will help them get ready for X. That means I need to know how to get this person ready for X. I need to have studied. I need to have a plan and know what I'm doing. And so that is all you put that on me. I will go do the homework. I will be happy to do the homework. I'm excited to do it because it's something I enjoy. And that means a lot to me. And I don't ever want to break that trust.
I love that. And so the structure that you use for your Peloton classes will be different based on the goal for that class, and might be something different than when you work with someone on a personal goal of like a marathon or a try then, right? That structurings would be a lot different.
Well, yeah, I mean, Peloton, I like to think about content as fun first or fitness first.
Mhm.
And so fun first, it's like, okay, we're gonna have a good time to the music. We're gonna get like a general aerobic workout in, or general whatever the modality is. And it's gonna be more like kind of like musically driven,
Mhm.
versus fitness first, which is like, okay, we're here for a specific purpose, whether it's to build endurance, build VO2 max, whatever it may be. And then from there, you work on designing a structure that supports your purpose. And of course, from your structure, you can then layer in as much fun as you can in
Yeah.
terms of music and everything else. So that's kind of how I think about it and how I program. It's like,
Mhm.
is it fun first or fitness first? And you can drill down from there.
Awesome. Um, you seem to nail both in the classes that I've taken. So,
Fun first needs some work. That's for
yeah.
sure.
I don't know. For me, I don't know. Like I said, I liked your style. I'm one of those people, it's weird. I'll find my instructor and just go to that one instructor. And like, I've taken, gosh, a handful of classes, and then I did more of a deep dive into your classes and just went for like a couple months, just Matt Wilpers
Oh
classes.
man,
So yeah, it's good.
the dark
Um,
cave.
yeah, totally tunnel vision. Um, but yeah, it's a lot of fun, and man, it's hard, very hard workouts. A lot of them too. Oh my gosh.
Well, a great example is this Friday I have a live DJ ride, And if you want to see me out of my comfort zone, that is it. Right?
Nice.
So
Cool.
anyway,
Yeah. I've got to ask, this is me and my brother had this debate and he wanted to make sure I brought this up. But I've worked with trainers, like if someone's training for like a half marathon or a marathon, I think it's like called the it's like a 70-30 rule or 80-20 where
80-20.
yeah, is there anything, does that work where you're 80% of your mileage should be at a slower pace? And then I know it's more intricate than that, but for like a beginner runner, for somebody like myself who's like running maybe 2 or 3 races a year, half marathons, is that a good kind of rule to, I know, like I said, I know it's more complicated than that. And I had a whole training program a friend gave me, but I was curious if that 80-20 rule is a thing, if that's something that's worth pursuing.
Yeah, I mean, the answer in fitness is always it depends, and
Mhm.
and there's always doesn't really exist. So it really does does depend, but I think at a general high level, I can say I mean I like it and agree with it. But is it always the case? No.
Mm.
Does it make sense for every athlete? No. And that's like kind of, as a coach, you have to figure out. But at the same time, like for example, like when you start looking at like an athlete that's really time crunched, they don't have a lot of time to train. And if they don't have a lot of time to train, and having them do all zone 2 work isn't going to do a lot. And are they going to follow exactly 80-20? But at the same time, if you can put the work in and get to 80-20 kind of ratio with aerobic to higher intensity work, absolutely. I mean, it's going to work. You're going to build a fantastic engine. And I think that it's now even a book, right?
I
Books.
think.
I
Yeah.
think I've read them too. I forget the author right now. I think I've read all of them, but
Nice.
but it's at the elite level, that's what you're seeing. At
Mhm.
the elite level, that's what kind of what it breaks down to.
Okay.
And I generally like saying that or providing that advice, because a lot of times what you see is people, they put too much emphasis on a high intensity sometimes, and
Mhm.
putting a lot of emphasis. It's like when you think about building a pyramid, right? And we think about the 80% down here, the 20% up here, you're gonna have a great foundation, a strong foundation, predictable, more of a predictable performance. If you're too heavily loaded on high intensity, less of a pyramid, more of a whatever, a tower,
Mhm.
when the wind blows, sometimes your performance might not be as as predictable, and also your risk of injury goes up significantly.
Mhm.
So does it always make sense? No, but is it a good general rule of thumb? I could live with that.
Okay. Well, you will have solved our argument about spending that
I
years.
again, I'm kind of playing Switzerland here right now,
A
but
little bit. Yeah, that's okay. I I think that is an honest answer. That's so funny.
yeah.
Nice. Now, you know, speaking of injuries, like I said, long athletic history here. I've had 4 knee surgeries, a ton from wrestling, and thank goodness for me for yoga, because I couldn't work out without wrecking my body. I was one of those people who went too hard. Every workout was a wrestling match. And so, yeah, do a lot of folks I've noticed, even when I brought up on my platform, hey, any questions for Matt that you might have, a lot of questions about, how do you handle injury prevention? How do you handle alleviating pain? How do you have a stretching routine? I did see that you are into yoga. Yeah.
I don't know. I always say, like, it's like me as a swimmer, right? I swim. I'm about to do a half Ironman. Do I consider myself a swimmer? No. So, but I'm going to do a half Ironman. I'm going to swim over a mile, at a mile and whatever. But it's like yoga. Like I love it. I absolutely love it. I wish I could do it more. Do I consider myself a yogi? Probably not, but I do love it. And that's why I did a 20-minute focus flow with Dennis, because it's just like I just, yeah, I value it a lot. It's great. Sorry, your question one more time is
Yeah.
I got lost in my in defending myself as not being a yoga.
No, no, I could be a little long-winded with the questions too. You know, do you have a regular yoga practice? And what
Oh
is
yeah.
that? How do you utilize that? I did see that flow you did with Dennis. And yeah, so obviously there's some yogi in there.
Yeah. Some I know it's so basically for me every week, I go to physical therapy, mostly working on mobility.
Hmm.
And when I think about injury prevention and preventing the aches and pains, it really comes down to, I mean, strengthening and stretching. Strengthening and stretching, and of course, like cardio is always great for just your general health and well-being. But when I think about alleviating pain for myself, I am the most pain-free when I'm strength training and when I'm stretching. And so I would love to do more yoga. I don't do it enough. Sometimes I get into a kick where I'm doing it 4 times a week. And then other times I'm just like, I can't get a class in, but I'm doing like more targeted stretching. But when I go to physical therapy pretty religiously once or twice a week. And that's where we work a lot of mobility.
Hmm.
And so that's, if I had to give any advice for keeping aches and pains away, I always say yoga makes it feel like I have room to move in my own body, more room to
Really
move like in my own body. I can't explain it. It's awesome.
wonderful. And PT, is that a preventative PT? Like, are you going to PT, or do you have an injury history that is it like targeted, or
Well,
what's
yeah,
that involved?
pretty much all the physical therapy I go to is prehab. It's to focus on getting in front of anything that might pop up, but just I think if you focus on maintaining your mobility, your strength, mobility, and all that stuff, you can prevent a lot of things from happening. And I used to get, you name the tendonitis, I used to get it all,
Hmm.
and now I haven't been injured in well over a year or two.
Nice.
And it's we're much better at getting in front of things, and so it's very much preventative and staying on top of things and identifying things quickly.
Great. And beyond the stretching aspect of yoga, you know, is there any other aspect of it that you find helpful? Like, does it
Oh,
help you
yeah.
de-stress or?
So anytime life gets chaotic, whether it's high stress with whatever it might be going on in life, that's when I usually go into yoga kicks, where I'm like going to a class every other day or whatever, just because it just helps you get grounded, like connect with your body, get grounded. Number one, you're doing something great for your body. You're going to feel awesome afterwards. But number two, it really helps me calm my mind down and think clearly when things are chaotic. So it helps tremendously in that.
Awesome. Um, Wonderful. Do you normally go to a flow class, or do you prefer more static stretching, or more of a flow, or does it kind of depend, or all the above?
It kind of depends. If I'm at home, I like to do more of like the slower static type poses, because that's kind of, when it comes to working out for like doing a aerobic training, you're usually doing dynamic stretches, then you're doing your aerobic work, then you're doing static stretching. I need more static stretching work. And so that's what I like to focus on when I'm like kind of on my own. Say I'm doing a Peloton yoga class from home, I focus on the slow flows.
Mhm.
But when I go to like a class, there's even a yoga spot across the street from me. I go to a class.
Nice.
It's more of a faster type flow, and which I also really like, because one of the great benefits of yoga is like it's strength, it's stability, it's a bit of cardio, and it's like stretching. You get a lot of that, and that's I enjoy that. And as a runner, the balance work is fantastic.
Hmm.
Really helps you out. Really helps you if you can easily start to get off-centered in your stride, and it can really help you recalibrate your balance.
Love
I
it.
love it.
So good. I always say I teach yoga for runners once a week. This group is super committed, and I'm glad I found another group where I can't even run without doing yoga anymore. Like, I don't know how anybody does it.
Yeah, I don't like, I've started, one of the things I realized as a runner as I've gotten older is a lot of times when we go back to the 80-20 rule, a lot of people start to focus so much on the 80, they forget about the 20. And what ends up happening is you start developing sloppy habits in your running, but also you never really push to go fast. And when you're not pushed to go fast, you don't realize that your mechanics are breaking down.
Hmm.
And yoga can really help you. And you start to get tight in areas that prevent you from getting faster. You never even realize it because you're not running fast. But yoga can really help you unlock some of those things that are happening from sitting all day or whatever is going on. Like I love the saying, your biography becomes your biology. And it helps us kind of attack that.
So good. I totally believe that. And I've heard you recently bring up breath, and there's something, right? Did you read James Nestor's book, was it?
Yeah, I'm reading through it right now. I'm slow right now. I've been so swamped with work. I'm slow,
Yeah.
but I'm getting through it, and I love it. I love it.
Me too, man. I am so into it. I feel like yoga helps with that self-awareness. You bring up mechanics and just kind of noticing. Like, before yoga, I think maybe I was more numb or something. Like, I would push through pain, or I wouldn't feel something until it was a disaster. And then
Yeah.
I feel like yoga is so good at some self-awareness and awareness around your breath. And that's important with running as well, right?
Oh yeah, 1,000%. And it's one thing the book has been super interesting and insightful. But one thing that that I've seen with beginner runners is oftentimes they're not, the breathing is out of control. And one of the coaches I've read about in the past or read, that publishing is Jack Daniels, and he talks about breathing rates and breathing rhythms. And a lot of what your breath talks about is straight out of Daniels. It's not like, it's just, they're saying the same thing basically.
Mhm.
So breath work is super important. And I'm constantly made aware of that again, because as a Peloton instructor, I have to run and talk at the same time. That's kind of not natural.
Yeah. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah. And so what ends up happening is when it's time for me to go train myself, I have to break apart my breathing patterns that I'm doing in class, which they're not great for you, because I'm coaching, and refine the breathing rates and breathing rhythms that help me perform as an athlete. So it's like I have to break that and then do it the right way. And it's constantly.
Yeah, how often do you run then? How often do you
Yeah, I
run
run a
and work
lot. I
out?
run a lot,
Yeah.
but it's so people are probably annoyed. You're probably sick of hearing me talk about breath work, because this is something I go through every run, and I'm like, oh man, I catch myself breathing like I'm coaching,
Mhm.
and I'm like, why do I feel like a train wreck? And then, well, there you go. Like,
Yeah, right. I bet. I mean, I think it's super helpful for you to bring that up during those classes. And I find that, like, really kind of manages your effort and calms you down. And even, like, I'm not clenching my shoulders and neck and jaw as much. But
it helps in a lot. I mean, I've had runners I've worked with in the past that uh they didn't realize that to open their mouth,
mm,
like they would just run like this, and they're like, I feel I'm like blowing up, and I'm like, let's open your mouth and let's breathe. And then all
right.
of a sudden they're fine.
It's crazy. You sometimes don't even realize you're doing it, I bet. And
Yeah.
you need a second set of eyes.
Yeah, that's why, it's when you see something, as a coach, and when you see your athletes succeed, there's nothing that beats that. It's
Mm,
just the best feeling in the world.
so sweet. Any other habits that you use, Matt, to stay grounded, healthy, mentally ready and healthy? Do you any meditation, morning routine, evening routine, diet,
Oh man.
fasting? I mean, I don't know how much time you get. But
Yeah, no, I could go forever, but the routines, absolutely. I think that, as an athlete, and if you've watched Wimbledon, or, Rafa Nadal play, or, or Alcaraz, like the routines the players at the top level have, it's all routines.
Mhm.
It's all about your routines, right? And so it's super important. But for me personally, from the morning when I get up, I'm an early bird, as you know, and I don't. Some people like love to just get up and rush out the door, and that is not me. I like to get up. I like to have plenty of time to get ready, enjoy my breakfast, maybe read a little bit, and then get out the door in like a calm state of mind. I think that's really important because it kind of sets the tone for the day.
Hmm.
Um,
Nice.
and then evening, I went through a period of life where I was, started having issues with anxiety and panic attacks, and I had to do, and ever since then, I started having really problems falling asleep, and I started doing sleep meditations, and that has absolutely changed the game for me. Slowing the breath down, and working on whatever we're working on, the sleep meditations, whatever the focus may be, it has been super, super helpful. And now I go to sleep really quick. And that was not the case even like 3 or 4 months ago.
Hmm. Is it yoga
So
nidra? Do you know the meditation style, or by chance?
I just it's the
No.
Peloton. I do the Peloton sleep
Oh,
meditation,
nice.
and I I always give Ross a hard time because every time I see him, I'm like a fanboy. I'm like,
Yeah,
yo, it's like so good. I love it.
that's
So
great.
I do those, and then I got to be careful with in the caffeine intake. I like to have a little bit of coffee in the morning, so I love coffee, but I have to watch it now.
Mhm.
And obviously, when it comes to nighttime, winding down, I get to bed early. If I can get to bed between 8 and 9 p.m., that's ideal.
Mhm.
And I used to be a person that burned the candle at both ends, and that eventually impacted my health. I go to bed late, get up early. It eventually got to my health, and now my wife's like, absolutely not. So I have to I've had to fix that, which has been great for my health and great for my relationship.
Nice.
So so now I get to bed early, get up and to get my work done more efficiently. And I'm thinking better and performing better. It's much better.
Mhm.
I think that one thing that I realized in college early on was the timing of the bulk of the work you need to get done for the day, timing that for when you're biologically most attuned to wanting to work, or able to work, mentally accept, like willing to do it. And so for me, that's between 8 and 1 p.m., 8 a.m. and 1 p.m., or even 5 a.m. and 1 p.m. It's that window for me. I can conquer the world, but after 1 p.m., I'm kind of useless.
Yeah, you and me both. Yeah, I'm the same way.
And then yeah, and if the only thing that can change my uselessness in the afternoon is a nap.
Uh-huh.
If I can get a 30-minute nap in, if I can find the time to do that, it's like I open up this other window of being able to accomplish a ton in the afternoon.
Hmm.
But if I can't get that nap in, it's tough in the afternoon. Um, Another thing too I've noticed, and I'm sure you've noticed too, is I consider, when you think about your memory, like as you get older, and you have to remember more. I call it, your RAM, your short-term memory.
Uh-huh.
Mine gets overloaded quickly. And so I constantly keep, actually, here it is, my Peloton, my book of
Nice.
like my running list of what, things I need to do. So as things come up, I try to push them on here. And then every week I go through and organize this whole thing, to make sure that I'm keeping track of what needs to get done, when it needs to get done by. Because honestly, that way it's not sitting up here, because then you get in this loop of like, if you miss it, you're upset with yourself, you made a mistake. That can impact the rest of your day, the rest of your week. But if you push it here and you go back to here and you have a system in place, you can then open up your short-term memory to take on more. And I think that's taken me, it's something I'm constantly working on, but it's been super, super helpful, in helping me control my mental space. And I think the last one's worth mentioning. I could keep going forever on
Yeah,
routines.
I love it.
Uh, is once upon a time, I bit the bullet and got a Whoop at one point, and Whoop is graded. They kind of like quantification of recovery. I
Mhm.
think that's fast. I think there's so much there. I can't wait for more science to come out on this, and it's continuing to come out with, now they're looking at blood sugar and all that other stuff. There's tons there. But Whoop, one of the things, the big thing that'll pop a lot of people realize is the impact of alcohol
Hmm.
on their sleep. And so I used to love to have a glass of wine every day. And now I've just like maybe on the weekend,
Nice.
because it really impacts your sleep like crazy. And if you're not sleeping, you're not performing. You're not performing athletically, you're not performing mentally. You got to get it.
I love that. I'll tell you, certain personality types like myself, though, I get I get anxious by looking at this sometimes. I have to
Oh,
take
we're
it
looking
off.
at what?
Oh,
Looking at,
the watch, or if I have these watches or rings and stuff, I think they're amazing, like you said. And like, I don't know what I'd do without this thing, really. But at night I've had to like take it off because like I have anxiety over my anxiety. It's like I gotta sleep. I gotta sleep. Like look at the watch. Am I sleeping? Or something. I don't know, the heart rate, the everything. And so
yeah.
just I feel like it's a little bit of a self experiment, and it's never not changing a little bit too.
Well, I think it's, again, we have to think about, is it temporary or is it always? And I think sometimes it's helpful to do like a self-study, if you will. Take whatever metric thing that you're using, whether it's a watch or a ring or whatever, use it for like a month or whatever, gather the data, figure out what's going on, then put it away.
Hmm.
Or and until learn the lesson, and then get back to whatever, to being data free or whatever, because I totally respect that and understand that.
Hmm.
So that's one thing I realized too, is just like sometimes it's like, okay, it doesn't have to be always, but let's dive into this right now. Let's figure out what's going on. Let's get to the bottom of it, and then we'll put it away until we need it again.
That's a good point. I like that. The to-do list is really helpful too. I think there's actually like evidence that shows like a good to-do list before you go to bed especially helps. And boy, if you work for yourself, I've started doing it too, big time. And I don't know why it took so long, but I mean, do you find like what's it like working for yourself, being an entrepreneur? Um, is it, I mean, obviously you love what you do, like that shines through. And but is it ever, it's probably times it's overwhelming too, right? Or what's that like for you?
Oh man, I think it's overwhelming like every day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I could be overwhelmed every day easily. And
Mhm.
it's funny, I look at people that are looking around like, I don't know what to do today. I'm like, I don't know how you could think that.
Yeah.
There's like 6,000 things I could do. But
Uh-huh.
the same time is like, yeah, being an entrepreneur is obviously, and especially in the fitness space, I always say there's so many opportunities. You could drown in opportunities because you have to focus eventually. If you can't focus, you're never going to be effective. So at some point you have to focus, you have to block out these other opportunities sometimes and focus. But I think I call it the entrepreneur mindset. It's just once it gets you, it's not leaving,
Yeah.
right? Like it's being an entrepreneur has changed how I approach working at a bigger company like Peloton. It's changed how I look at myself and everything I do. And it's, in a positive way.
Mhm.
And I sometimes say this in class is like, everything you touch, everything you put your hand on, everything you put your time into is a reflection of you. Whether you are your own company at the end of the day. And so, it's important that you put your best foot forward always. And so it's like that mindset. And when people think about becoming an entrepreneur, like, I don't know about you, I look at the world and I see there's millions of things that need to be improved. All you need to do is just pick something you're passionate about and find a way to make money doing it. That's it. And like, whether it's doing this or I could find lots of other things, but this is probably the most passionate thing I'm most passionate about right now. So I think I'm in the right place.
Wonderful. It sure sounds it. And like I said, it really comes through when you teach and hearing you talk about it. I did see you post something about bro yoga. That was, I've taught broga before, and you talked about finding something to focus on. And like, I was shocked the level of participation. There was definitely a need there. Yeah. And I taught this group of guys in Philly, and it exploded from like a small group of 10 guys to 150 in a year. And I'm just like, man, there's a little harder to replicate that up here in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, there's a guy that there's a guy, no, two things on this. There's a guy I've cycled with. He invited me to like a ride. He's like one of the fittest guys I know. And the guy he's in his late 50s and invited me to ride with him. The guy was in incredible shape, moved like he was in his 20s, does yoga like every day. And, it was just like, it was amazing to watch this guy move. And he was incredible cyclist. Because remember, if you lose mobility, you lose the ability to create power through range of motion. If you lose the ability to create power through range of motion, your performance is going down the tubes. This guy had the range of motion and the power that was incredible. So it's like, that was amazing. And then when I think about this guy, I'm like, that is motivation enough for me to do yoga all the time. Nice. But then you think about what happens to guys as we age, you start to lose muscle mass. You get tight. You lose range of motion. You lose range of motion, increase rate of risk of injury, decrease performance. How do we attack that? Stretching, yoga. However we need to get there, we need to get there. We need to get guys stretching, yoga. I mean, whatever, there's so much there that could help.
Totally.
Let alone controlling pain.
Yeah. Big time.
Right. So I know that was a big reason I really want, like, I will hopefully do more classes with Dennis with yoga, like however I can like spread the word and get more people into it. I want to, especially with the running community. It's so beneficial and so helpful.
It's unfortunately, I feel like sometimes with the guys, it's not until after, and I'm just as guilty, until you're injured or there's some sort of health crisis that it's like, okay, I'll do yoga now. But at least now for me, it's like it's a very much a prehab, preventative. Everything's better now that I do it. So,
well, I have this, not too long, a couple of years ago, I was lifting and I something popped in the back of my neck, and it's like, it's just something I have to live with now. But it's, I always tell how the level of tightness in my body, because pain will come back. But as soon as I strength train and stretch, pain, I don't have any pain. But if I stop that, if I get too busy with work or whatever, and I'm not stretching and strength training, it comes roaring back to get me.
I hear you, man. Same here. I'm right with you.
Yeah.
My gosh. It's is there anything you want to touch on before? I've got a quick lightning round of questions for you, if that's cool, but I don't know if you have another minute or if you got to get rolling.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good. Let me check my calendar here 1 second. No, I'm good.
All right. Is there anything else you want to touch on though before I throw some quick questions at you?
Let's see here.
Anything that you're particularly enjoying, hobbies or anything?
Oh man, that's a great question. So having this question, with my wife, we're navigating the first year of marriage, which has been fun. And we've gotten into, we discovered surfing together, and I'm rediscovering tennis with her. And we just had I went through I had a coach session over the weekend, and it was so much fun, but so brutal. The coach was from Eastern Europe and was a big believer in reps. So we got, hundreds of balls
Oh, no.
over the weekend. I am so tight. I need like 5 yoga sessions. I'm just kidding. But no, it's
Nice.
yeah, I'd say that's been fun right now. And just, I just have a lot of reading I need to do.
Mhm. So one thing is the reoccurring theme with you, Matt, is it seems like what do you do for fun? A lot more activity, it seems. It seems like you're very active. Like, I don't know. It's just how there's enough hours in the day for you. That's
Yeah.
awesome. You're so active.
Oh, the other thing is I have a triathlon in the month. I've been working with, I hired my own coaches, from Team Wilpers, and I still have a triathlon coach and a strength coach. And I think as a coach, we should always remember that it's great to be coached.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I've been really enjoying having an outside perspective on me, on outside eyes on me and what I'm doing, and giving me fresh things to work on and focus on, and different perspectives. And I love it. I think
Mm.
that everyone could use a coach.
There's something sweet about being a student again.
It's all, and honestly, being a coach makes me a better athlete, because I'm just like, let's have the conversation. You get that much more. And that's why I always talk about why in classes, because knowing the why can make you so much more invested in what you're doing. And when
Mm.
you're more invested, the outcomes can be even better.
Yeah. What is your why
My why for
for for all of it? Is there an overarching why for you, or is it just kind of depend on what you're working towards, like the triathlon? Will that shift for you?
Well, yeah, I mean, the triathlon is just, for the why for me doing a half Ironman is probably continue to test myself, to continue to learn about myself. Nutrition is always a learning curve, sport nutrition, at least for me. And then, but also it's just fun.
Mm.
It's fun. It's fun to stay fit. It's fun to get out there in the community and see what you're capable of. And I think there's lots to learn. So I just I enjoy the learning aspect, and I also enjoy challenging myself. It's more about me versus me versus someone else.
Mhm.
And for me, it's me versus me in that swim. It's tough.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that swim is tough. Oh my
but
gosh.
you're forced to learn things about yourself, which is great. And so it's a lot about the process.
Love it. And how do you focus on yourself as a Peloton instructor? Like, I imagine in my mind, there seems to be an outpouring of positivity towards you, and whether it's social media or maybe it's in a class, but I imagine too, there's a lot there. There's just like so much, and being such a public figure. Do you have any tricks or tips in that? And how do you handle that?
Oh man, it is a lot. At the same time, I'm very thankful for the lens that we're viewed from, within. It's a very positive place to be, versus being like CEO of a company or whatever it might be, or everyone is very positive. I love it. But at the same time, like, you got to be protective of your personal space. And one thing I learned through anxiety and all that stuff is that you got to know when you need to step aside, and you need to know when you need your alone time. You need to know when you need to take a beat and sit down.
Mhm.
And you need to know how to manage your energy, just like in a workout. You need to manage your energy, and your mental energy is very much, there is a limit.
Yeah, for sure.
And so for me personally, it's like, it's been I can't say I'm great at it. I'm learning, working on it constantly. um and it's, you got social media stuff, you got all this other stuff. Time management is super, super important. And yeah, you just got to always be able to take a read of yourself and say, how are you doing? When do you need to take a break? And
Mhm.
so it's a learning curve. It absolutely is. It hasn't been
Yeah.
a straight wine.
Yeah, I bet it's, a lot of self-awareness again, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's like in athletics, you say listen to your body, and you have to think about that from a mental standpoint too. And unfortunately, I have found, I found some limits along the way, and it hasn't been fun. But at the same time, sometimes you need to smack into your limits to know how to manage yourself better.
Mhm. Sounds like me on a half marathon. That's we called it my benchmark run because I really went for it.
Hey, that's all
So,
right. The thing is, like, you gotta, and that's why it's like during classes and stuff, it's like sometimes we don't know until we try.
mhm.
And how do you measure progress then?
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Awesome. So yeah, so I was wondering if I could ask you a quick couple one-off questions, a little lightning round. Yeah. What's your favorite running shoe, Matt? Or do you have one?
Oh boy. Oh man. It depends. It depends on if we're doing short distance or long distance. If
Oh
we're doing
man, I knew
long
it was going to be
distance,
complicated.
if we're doing long distance, I'm definitely down with. I'm still addicted to Hokas.
Mhm.
If we're doing short distance, there's this. I actually forget the model. I have it somewhere in my. I have it. It's an ASIC. There's the ASICs makes a wonderful um middle distance kind of racing flat that I love.
Mhm.
So it just depends. But
Okay.
yeah, distance, a Hoka nut still.
Yeah, me too. I think I need the extra padding myself. I don't know. On the treadmill, does it depend on distance too with those shoes or?
Yeah, I mean, treadmill is, it depends on, depends on treadmill, but obviously, yeah, you can probably handle a little less padding on the treadmill because there's some give in the treads versus
Mhm.
like running on pavement. So you can probably take a little bit less, but that said, if you're still going for like a 10-mile run on a treadmill, maybe, but um, so.
Okay. Depends. Um, any favorite running gear or do you mix it up there too?
Oh, yeah, I don't running gear. I mean, I'm a Garmin guy.
Yeah.
I'm a Garmin watch. Love it. And aside from that, Peloton just came out with this new like their all their neon lines.
Uh,
I love that clothing the shirt. The shirts are just wonderful material.
are they
Sh
Lululemon or
no, it's their own
don't think?
own. Yeah.
Cool.
I love Lululemon too, though. When it comes to like Lululemon, they used to do more 5 inch. I love line shorts. Like
Uh,
runners are, I don't know. I'm a line short kind of guy. They're not doing too many of those these days. So I don't know. I have these 5 inch line shorts from Lululemon. I'm not sure if they make them anymore, but I liked them. But I don't know. That's
hmm,
I will say for socks, features.
hmm.
Uh, and socks, it's a hot debated area. I know people go crazy about socks, but you know what? I'm gonna put my flag, my flag in the sand and say features. Don't talk to me. I don't want to hear anything else.
This is the cross you choose to die on, huh? This is
Yeah,
the hill.
I'm dying. Like I got a whole sock drawer for a feature socks. I love these things.
Oh my gosh, that's great. I don't know if I've ever heard of them. I'll have to try them out.
They're not cheap, but you guess what? Once you run, like, so they have different levels of padding.
Hmm.
Uh, and I'm a big fan of that. And because if you're going for a long distance run, you're gonna want a little bit more padding in your sock versus like a racing sock. Because in racing competitions, like if you're gonna run a 5K, you're gonna want a very thin sock versus a longer distance race.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
yeah.
Um, I've ripped several of the Lululemon line shorts. I was an ambassador and they were just like, what in the world? Like, I still have the wrestler legs, I guess, but I'm doing like splits and yoga and most everything lasted like some of my Lulu stuff. I mean, over a decade, but I think just for my legs,
Yeah.
they weren't ready for that many splits
Oh man.
running them.
We got the opposite problem. I got pencil legs, so it's all good.
It's funny. Yeah, do you have a favorite Peloton teacher?
Oh, it depends.
For how about for running?
Oh, for running. Oh gosh, Bex Gentry is just like, she's like, I don't know, between Bex Gentry and Susie Chan right now, I'm obsessed. Bex Gentry she's been to Olympic trials and all that stuff. And she's just such a beautiful runner, like just has wonderful form, great grasp of running concepts, all that stuff. She's just, I love her classes. Also, Susie Chan, she's also just a rock star runner. Anyways, that said, it really depends on, what you're looking for. But from a competitive runner standpoint, I love listening to them. But also, there's days where I just want to like jam out and have a good time. Alex Toussaint's on the tread now.
Oh, really?
If you haven't taken Alex Toussaint's first run on the tread, it is on another level. It's like on another planet
Yeah, really?
of energy. It is. Like I've done that run, like I've done the run a handful of times. And if you need an energy pop, if you need like a shot of energy, that is it.
I got to
It's
check it out.
it's good.
How about on the bike? Anybody in particular or?
Oh man, on the bike, yeah, that's a really good question. Powers and rides. I again, Dennis, the quotes that man has, unbelievable. Love it.
Uh-huh.
I love Olivia's choice of electronic music. So good. I love watching the live DJ rides, all the interactions of the live DJ rides. But I don't. I guess it just depends. It just depends. And of course, Tune is such a rock star.
Mhm.
I could just go on forever. I love my
Yeah.
team.
Yeah, this sounds it.
Everyone's great for it just depends on where you're at, what you need.
Totally. Yeah. Did you so do y'all hang out like socially ever, or do y'all get together as a team? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh
that's
yeah. But
cool.
it's challenging because everyone's got 6,000 things going on. But when it does happen, it's literally, I wouldn't rather be anywhere else.
Mhm. So great. Um, Most proud moment as an athlete.
Oh man, most proud moment as an athlete. That is tough. Um, I think that two times come to mind if I could have two. One of them is like when I first got under 16 minutes in the 5K in college. That was a big moment for me. It was I wasn't sure if I was capable, and it was like a big breakthrough for me. So that was, and a teammate had had just thrown his race away to basically help me, pace me to get underneath, and it was a big mental breakthrough for me. That was one. The other one would be when I finished the one and only Ironman that I did.
Nice.
Again, I wasn't sure if I could do it, and so when I realized I was going to make it, started crying in the middle of the race. I was
That's
just like,
great.
this is nuts. I can't believe that I actually am going to do this. It was something.
That's so cool. I'd probably be crying because I couldn't make the swim. That's what I would.
Well, the swim was a train wreck. They had a storm come in overnight, and they warmed the waters a lot. And then so I was in my wetsuit and I overheat. I'd never overheated in a wetsuit, and I overheated that day. And like when you overheat in a wetsuit, your body can't get rid of heat, and so you start freaking out.
God,
So I swam with my wetsuit pretty much undone the entire swim.
really? That's scary.
I was messed, but I made it.
Nice. How about as a coach? Any proud moments? Probably a
Oh
ton,
man.
but
Oh, a ton. But let's see here. I loved, worked with a high schooler for years, and just watching that, especially when you work with, like, I love working with adults. I love seeing these, seeing the light bulbs go off. But like when you work with kids and they still have so much of their life and growing up in front of them, and then they realize, sometimes you got to force them to get through things, and then they later realize, and it's helped them in their life. There's just nothing better than that. And they're going through such pivotal moments in their life, whether it be high school or college or whatever. And, maybe their time on a team you've been working with has been the subject of their entrance, essay, or they're getting into college running. Those types of life-changing things, where you can have an impact as a coach, it's just mind-blowing. And this makes me question a lot of things about life, but like coaches and teachers are just so important. And you could go on and on about how important they are and how much of an impact they make on kids' lives. So shout out to all the teachers and coaches out there, because you all make a big impact, and we could all value a lot more.
That's for sure. And it sounds like that's what you live for, is the coaching now and teaching. And you have any nicknames, Matt?
Oh man, I
that we could share.
Everyone at work knows I have a nickname for them. So I got nicknames for pretty much everyone on my team.
Okay.
But nicknames for me, growing up, I used to have curly blonde hair, so my nickname was Curly for a long time.
Nice.
Most people could just call me Wilpers or Wilpy. What else is there? I don't know. Ice. I get called Matty Ice a lot. And
Nice.
then what else is there? I don't even know. That's probably it. Probably the bulk of it.
Any pets or anything?
Yes, dog. We have our dog, our dog named Nico, and he's a Maltese Pomeranian mix. I grew up with hunting dogs, and now I have a small house dog.
That's awesome.
He's awesome.
Sweet. Any favorite place to vacation or get away?
We got married in Nicaragua. If I had to say one place that we like to go back to, is Nicaragua. For the surfing there and the culture and the people there are just wonderful. I love it. But I'd probably say that's probably it right now.
Okay. Any particular favorite playlist or song of your own or somebody else's on Peloton? Or
oh man,
so many good ones.
It all depends on what you're doing, right? So I'm into I'm hooked on. I'm always hooked on Justin Bieber and Post Malone.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I can get into pretty much anything.
Cool.
I like almost all the music.
All right. What's one word to describe your teaching style?
Oh, let's see here. One word let's just go with authentic.
Love it. I think that fits. I was going
Right?
to say supportive, but I've definitely authentic. That definitely comes through.
I'm not, I want to lead you in the right direction, but I want to do it in a way that makes you want it versus me driving it, stuffing it down your throat. That doesn't work. I want you to understand what you're doing. I want to like build your internal drive to want, because that is powerful for the future for you.
Yeah, definitely more empowering that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
How about one word to describe being a Peloton teacher?
Oh man, one word, I would say it is, wow, either somewhere between exciting, empowering, but also I guess it's what is the saying with opportunity comes great responsibility. It's a big responsibility.
Sure.
So I maybe responsible. I don't know.
Sweet.
Because it means a lot. There's a big impact, but at the same time, I want to do the right thing. I always want to, for the most people.
What's next for you, Matt? Any future plans, goals, anything that you want to aim towards?
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, I really want to continue just exploring my passion for helping people and combining that career with that passion, especially in the health and wellness space. continue down this path for now. I still don't feel like I've accomplished what I want to accomplish for making an impact in public health. So I want to keep doing that. And then we'll see where things go from there. But there's still a lot left I need to do. And a lot more I need to learn.
Wonderful. Great.
So,
Matt, this has been fun. I really appreciate you taking all this time. I'm sorry we went a little bit over, but
no, it's all good. I appreciate it, Jake. Thanks for the opportunity, and
yeah.
it's great chatting with you. And
Yeah.
best of luck to you and your practice and your podcast and your business. That's awesome. And thanks for doing this.
Thanks, man. That means a lot. I look up to guys like you who are doing such a great job and on such a, like you said, an impactful platform like Peloton. And so thanks for doing what you do, man. You help a lot of people. You've helped me. And so thanks for that.
The podcasting world is fantastic because, again, it's a lot of people don't read anymore. A lot of people listen to podcasts, and this is where they get a lot of their information from. And so you're helping to educate and spread good information.
Yeah. And if it's not for sources like yourself, somebody willing to talk, there would be none of it. And so I appreciate it. Yeah. I can't tell you, it means a lot. I know your time's useful. And so I thank you for that.
All good. Well, thank you again. And if there's anything that comes up, let me know. If I can help with anything, let me know.
I appreciate it. Yeah. I'm going to put this out there in podcast and maybe even as early as tomorrow, hopefully.
Okay.
And I doubt I'll do much editing. I think this flowed really beautifully. I'll obviously edit out this part, but
Sorry.
yeah. And I also write for the US News. And if there's a theme that comes out that I pitch that over to my editor, and I don't know if you'd be open to potentially getting something out there in an article too. But if
Absolutely.
Sweet.
Absolutely. Yeah, just let me know.
Okay. Is the best way to reach out through
Peloton is the best.
Through Peloton?
They help me coordinate and help me manage it and schedule it. Yeah, they're awesome.
Cool. Awesome, man. Sounds good.
Well, thanks again. Have a great day, and we will chat soon. And always feel free to reach out anytime you need anything.
Matt, I appreciate that. Thanks so much, man.
Absolutely, Jake. See ya.
All right. See ya.